Well, good afternoon, everybody, and a special welcome to Honourable Minister Lazaro Nyalandu from Tanzania, where he became the Minister of Tourism in January, but that followed on, I think, nearly 3 years of being the Deputy Minister of Tourism. So I think it's very exciting to have Africa on the podium and to be talking a little bit more about the broader tourism industry. And we are going to tackle a couple of tough and hot issues that are difficult to deal with, and I'm going to ask Minister Nyalandu how we handle it in Tanzania and how it's happening there. The title of our session is Corporate Social Responsibility. I think it's something that the hoteliers would really like to know. How can they effectively use corporate social responsibility to better not only their business, but the industry and the environment and the culture and the communities they operate in? But the subtitle is Tackling Cultural Sabotage. So my question would be, well, sabotage is maybe a very strong word, but do you believe, Minister, that the tourism industry, that the investors, developers, the operators, perhaps the expatriate staff, are they actually destroying cultures in Africa? Are they destroying cultures in Tanzania? Is there an impact this is a real problem?
I think the investing community, the tourists who come to Tanzania, for example, over the years, have become part of our culture. If you look at the Maasai community, for example, which stretches really from Kenya, Tanzania, and other parts of Africa, have become, so to speak, synonymous of that beauty, which is the source of attraction and the source of inspiration. So if you were to visit a place called Ngorongoro Crater in Tanzania, many of you might have been to Tanzania, it is a breathtaking place. It will never cease to amaze you, even if you go 1,000 times. But you find both cohabitation of the Maasai community and the wildlife living together. So you can imagine elephant roaming, and then a Maasai warrior goes by. And there has never, at any given time, been a conflict between the Maasai community, which is one of the most traditional African old families. And I believe that there is mutual benefit. We tend to think, most tourists from America, from here in Europe would look the same. And the Maasai have every story to tell. The sayings have been said about how and what has been achieved as a result. But I think there is complementarity, that's what I would say.
I think that's wonderful to hear, and you're talking about the Maasai in the north of Tanzania, but I am going to touch on another part of Tanzania. We've got Zanzibar, which is an island that gets about almost 200,000 tourists, about 75,000 British tourists a year. And I think you have to admit there's been a number of incidents, actual real incidents, last year in particular, a bad one, but also vitriolic leaflets, suggestions, rallies. Churches were burned 2 years ago, not necessarily always targeting the tourists, but threatening the tourists. And isn't that a very sensitive culture that is very different to the beach culture, the drinking, the nudity or the topless bathing? And have you not got some potential real problems? In particular, Zanzibar has got possibly more conservative in its religious approach and more pro-separate, becoming separate, the whole separatization thing. The Zanzibar situation, and again, I spoke to Stephen at BBC Her Talk. I said Zanzibar is this place that it's a dream place for anybody who want to get married. There is something about Zanzibar that is mesmerizing. It's beautiful. It's an amazing place. It's truly Africa in a very different sense, so to speak. And my wife and I live in a place called Oyster Bay in Dar es Salaam, but she's always crazy about going to Zanzibar all the time. And there's something about women, actually, which make them crazy. I mean, about this Zanzibar place. Yeah. So here's the point. It has nothing to do with the culture of Zanzibari people. It has everything to do with the religious right, the rise of religious fundamentalism that is global in nature. We are seeing the elements not only in Zanzibar, but also in places like the Al-Shabaab, Somali, and you see these elements of really radical groups that wish to undermine not only the Zanzibari population, but I think the democracy and the freedom that we all enjoy. And so basically what we are doing in Tanzania, we are moving very, very swiftly to fight these groups
We are investigating in every incident that has taken place, and obviously the people are rising over and above to really be part of the efforts. And I think we are winning a lot against those little groups that are fundamentals and radicals.
What would your message be to the investors and the operators or the developers of hotels? How can they contribute in social responsibility terms to anything to do with minimizing these types of problems or assisting? Even, you know, you're right, there's a religious fundamentalism there that's underneath the issue. But there are issues related to crime, prostitution, drugs. It's not just in Tanzania, it's elsewhere in the world. We see that tourism, the wealth that comes into communities, the disparity in the low minimum wages of the employees versus the very high income of the people that they're serving. There are tensions, there's always going to be tensions. What can a company do to work effectively?
I think the company, the corporate social responsibilities, and for the corporate world coming to invest in Tanzania, the opportunities abound. The opportunity which we have really in our vast territories are so much that they cannot be hijacked by separate incidences that do take place, unfortunately. And
but isn't that good policies? I mean, I'm going to use the example that people often give. It's the Italian all-inclusive resorts where the people tend to be the worst behaved, whereas there's other resorts that have got fantastic interactions with the communities, and they're doing HIV/AIDS programs, they're doing schools, they're doing different things. Is that not a good model as to how a corporate can interact?
I would say, I think Tanzania is a great model for that. We have, for example, if you came to Arusha, you're going to the Serengetis and you chose to drive, you stopped by Ngorongoro conservation area. Before that, you come to a village of Karatu, a town of Karatu. So many people have given their time, their talents to really engage, visit a school, visit a hospital, and we are seeing, to the credit of a lot of individual people, and these are just tourists who participate together with companies' programs, hotel programs, and we are seeing these developments. And I think the model of people-to-people development between Tanzanians, individual communities, and individual tourists and people from around the world is becoming much more stronger than actually government to government. And we are seeing a lot of repeat visits. As you know, as of last year, we've crossed the number of 1 million tourists. Yeah. We are seeing the beauty of Tanzania is people come, stay longer. People come and the repeat visit shows that they like
what they see.
They're being satisfied.
But I'm just going to pick on a couple of things, just to say I think you've got a lot of the right things going on, but I think it's the Zanzibar Minister for Information, Tourism and Culture and Sports only in December last year brought up an old decree that you had that says any individual can arrest anyone dressed to the contrary of the Zimbabwe Zanzibar culture, including men wearing earrings or having plaited hair, women wearing revealing clothes. The more people say those things, the more Tanzania is going to get a reputation out there. And as I mentioned to you earlier, the World Economic Forum rates a lot of dimensions in terms of the friendliness of a country for tourism. And one of them is how friendly are the population of the country to tourism. And Tanzania gets a rating that is 115th out of 148 countries. Whereas you've got Rwanda next door is 21st out of 148 countries. Mauritius is 24th, South Africa is 42nd, Kenya is 54th. So no matter what you're saying, there's some sort of resentment or something coming through. And I think it's something we're going to have to address, and it's potentially something with that religious fundamentalism as well that could destabilize your tourism industry.
And I think we are addressing that. I think Zanzibar issue is, as I said, trying to hijack a really story in Tanzania. The really story in Tanzania is that
the Northern Circuit.
The country is ready for business. This is the only country, for example, in Africa, in the entire continent, with the largest number of flora and fauna, diversified number of wildlife that roam in the country.
Well, now you've talked wildlife, I'm going to get to poaching.
So what I wanted to say is, yes, I wouldn't accept that kind of declaration from some public official. I think we speak with them. This is completely unacceptable. Okay. People must be free as they have been, and they continue to be. So if you think of the mainland Tanzania, it's a very huge country, and the levels of individual freedoms and the level of enjoyment that people have when they come to see the world is amazing.
So what you're saying is mainland Tanzania is addressing it and it's working really well. Tanzania, you recognize you've got a problem, you'll deal with it going forward in terms of working with the people, working with those ministers or the people who made the statements.
Yeah, I think mainland Tanzania, it's known as Tanganyika for some of you who were there back in the days.
Old people.
Back in the 60s. It's a very pluralistic society. It's very, I would say, like anywhere in the world, you can dress anything you want. You are not judged because of who you are, your orientation, or whatsoever. But then we've had a rise of the religious right that is really encroaching in Zanzibar. And as I said, we've done everything as a government to contain it, and I think we are winning. The key thing here is the country of Tanzania is ready for business in terms of investment. And this is something that I would like the world to appreciate a little bit.
But we have to just bring this up, the poaching as well. You really, and you've admitted it yourself, even as you left with the German embassy, I think it was on Friday, to come here through to ITB, that poaching has been a problem, your elephant population has been disseminated, the influence of the Chinese, which is big in Africa, has helped actually foster and sort of make the poaching grow faster and become a worse thing. Your Askaris, your game rangers on the ground are not very well paid, they've got an uphill battle to deal with this problem. Are you going to get to the bottom of this? Are you going to be able to fix it? Are you going to be able to reverse it?
Probably that's my most important to-do list, is the poaching issue. We have 2-3 ways in which we are approaching this. First is the source, which is what is happening in our game reserve, in our national park systems. We are deploying and redeploying more numbers of game rangers. We are retraining these game rangers. And in fact, I said, in the next couple of weeks, if not a month or so, we will be sending in the military. Why? Because there is so much appetite for ivory in China, in Japan, in Vietnam, in all sorts of these countries. And when I spoke to Steve, I told him, every time you allow yourself to wear some ivory stuff in your head, and especially ladies, it's because you allow to put a bullet in the head of an elephant. And this is happening because of this enormous appetite.
Demand.
And this demand is driven by, I don't know,
Chinese...
we think Africans have some strange culture. Now we know Asians and
I've got even stranger, huh?
Oh my God, yeah.
But the Chinese are there in Tanzania and elsewhere in Africa. They've got massive construction companies. They've got all the people and the logistics and the ability to get that ivory out and the money to bribe the people. Is this a surmountable, are you confident it's a surmountable problem?
I am catching them, putting them behind bar like no man in business.
Okay.
I've made an announcement myself that we will make no distinction, whether you are rich Chinese, you are poor, you are Tanzanian, you are whatever.
Whatever, even if it's a Tanzanian government official, anybody, whatever level.
We are taking on some of the top government officials that we have put behind bar. My point is, the battle for elephant is huge, it's raging, and we are making no mistake, we are making no distinction for those people who are involved. And the message is going home. And by the way, we are winning this battle. As of December last year, the numbers of elephant carcasses we can find is dropping, chiefly because the population, the people, ordinary folks are rising to the occasion. They are speaking to us. We are getting quality intel from members of community across the country. And this is chiefly because of the benefit they get from tourism and chiefly because of the investment that has come. And again, I wanted to say, if anybody thinks of really tomorrow's opportunity, Tanzania will be one of your places to think. It's like last frontier in Africa. I mentioned earlier today as I spoke to people, we have, traditionally people invest because of tourists. But now we have enormous find in oil and gas. So a lot of that transforms the way infrastructure and hotel are structured and are done.
I really liked what you said about the intelligence from the communities, because that does mean the communities are in here supporting it, and that actually is the only way you will really get to the poachers. I'm pretty convinced. I just want to round off, though, and I'm picking on the negatives. There's other things that we hear about Tanzania. You're going to build roads through the Serengeti. You're going to put soda ash on your flamingo lakes, your soda ash mining. You've got uranium mines coming. There's a lot of infrastructure talk, dams, and there's a lot of people feeling that a lot of that is going to destroy ecosystems, stop migration patterns, do things that will damage tourism. You do have a problem with people saying, some of the population of Tanzania are anti-tourists and hearing of the anti-tourist things. And you do have a big problem at the moment with the elephants. So I'd say you're on the brink. Yes, you're right. There's a huge amount of opportunity for Tanzania going forward to grow its tourism industry. I totally believe you. But there's some serious issues that you've got to sort out, else you're going to be teetering one way or the other.
Last week and a half, I invited my Kenyan counterpart, the tourism minister from Kenya and Uganda. I hosted them in Arusha, our little town in the northern part of the country, to discuss what we can do together. What are the steps that we can take as a region? One, to improve the tourist experience, so that's the experience, so that we can really narrow the bothering that people can find. But specifically on the issue of the Serengeti Road, the government of Tanzania has made it very clear. And of course, we've made some statements in the past that really got the world concerned.
Annoyed, yeah.
I'm the new boy in town, and what I can say is that we have undertaken, together with the German government, to do a feasibility study on the southern bypass.
The alternative routes, correct.
Alternative route. It's a little bit longer, but of course you see the price of really disturbing the migration and the price of having people to travel a couple more kilometers. The answer is very clear. And I think we should be making the announcement at some point to the world about that decision. But
we can't make it today.
I want to assure you, what I want to assure you, people need to understand the integrity of Serengeti shall be protected. Serengeti, as you know it, shall remain untouched.
Thank you, and thank you very much for that. And I think that's a wonderful confidence statement, because there is a lot of concern about that road. And you're saying here today, government is going to relook at the southern route, or look at it with German support. That's fantastic news. It's fantastic news that the community are helping to give you intelligence on the elephant poaching, and that you at least recognise some of the issues with the Zanzibari population. So, Ashley, I'm an African as well. I wish you lots of luck with growing tourism in Tanzania. And thank you very much, Minister, for being with us today.
And thank you. I appreciate it. I wanted to just quickly mention, if next year, 2015, I would like to make an announcement. We will be hosting for the first time the African Hotel Investment Forum. And being the new boy in town as the new tourism minister, that will be my next big deal. And I would like to invite the world to come. We are ready for business, and we're going to surprise you with what we have to offer.
And you're going to have a nice report card on everything we've been discussing, which will show how you've gone forward. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.